The most important work of your life is the work you do within your soul. This is Home Improvement for the Soul.
Hello, and welcome to Home Improvement for the Soul. I am Maddie Cheers, and I am back with Paula Jennings,
Hello.
who was just so wonderful and exciting to be with last week. So, Paula, by the by, is a sound energy healer. She specializes in yoga meditation. She is a heart and soul guide. I love that title. What a brilliant title that is. I mean, I often call myself a spiritual coach, but I just love that one. I might steal some of that.
You steal away. There's no original ideas.
That's true. It's all out there. It's all one thing.
Exactly.
So last week, Paula, we talked a little bit about what happened with your coming from Ireland to the States to going to work on Wall Street and all the important lessons you learned while you were there that led you to here. So I thought maybe we could sort of continue with that story in the sense of talking about how did you end up transitioning from that? What happened in your life that transitioned you from that life into the beginning of the life you have now?
Okay. That sounds good. So, in the telling of the story, what happened there, I guess parts of it that are pertinent are what I went through, like how it sounded like it was all wonderful and unicorns and rainbows, but we know that that's not the case.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, there was many moments in all throughout that time where I doubted myself, where I felt. My theme, I guess, throughout my life has been one of not feeling good enough. And part of my overachieving on Wall Street, as I reflect back, was that proving that I am good enough. So it wasn't always coming from the place of, it was coming from the place of lack, if you like.
Right. And in this culture, and by that I mean American, European culture, you really are taught from childhood almost that you're not good enough, that there's always more. It's never enough. And now we're finding out that we have to come to a point all over the world in every culture where we're saying, oh, this is enough.
Exactly.
And that's the only way that we will be able to sustain ourselves here.
It's very true. Yeah. And so, there was a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and so I'll talk about the transition. So I guess I had been out in Wall Street 20 something years.
Wow.
And honestly, it was, I met great people and I was fulfilled in what I did. And also my relationship with my then husband was suffering. My health was really suffering. I had AFib, I had a bunch of different physical, I was disassociated from my body for most of the time I was on Wall Street.
Wow.
To the point where I would sometimes have my first something to eat at 4:00 in the day. That would be it. So I was running off of some kind of, as I said, this feeling of not being good enough. And yes, the success, the money, it was there. It was there for me. And at the same time, it was not fulfilling me. And I reached, I think, rock bottom and a realization about it. My company sent me to Paris on a global women's leadership program. Really revolutionary for the time.
Yeah.
It was for women by women, and it was part of INSEAD.
What year was that about?
That was 2012.
Wow.
So that was, when also I learned later there was a bigger shift happening on the planet.
Right.
And so 2012, I find myself in Paris. I'd left my 2 kids at home. It was, and I actually, it was through an art therapy exercise that one of the coaches had me do, that all this emotion that had been clearly shoved down, that I was holding in, I was not, there was a lot going on at home that wasn't good. There was a lot going on in work that wasn't good. And literally all of that came out as this woman asked me to draw my head and my heart, my past and my future. And so interesting to talk about the head and the heart, right? And so I drew my face and I realized that there was I had lost touch with who I was. I couldn't draw my face and really connect to who that person was. There was a big smile on her face, which was how I showed up in the world, because I'm an uplifter and that's what I wanted to do. But behind that smile was all of these other parts of me that had been disassociated from. You know, all these parts of me that were not acknowledged because I had been pleasing everybody around me. That's what I was taught to do. That's what women do, right? So I also drew. So my face was, I realized that, you know, sort of the tears of a clown moment, and then I drew my heart, and as I drew my heart, I started to put this like armor and barbed wire around it, and realized that I had built up this whole protective mechanism. Armor that I needed to put on every day that I went to work, that I was living my life.
Right.
And I didn't know who I was. I had lost sight of who I was. Wow. And it's kind of ineffable. There's not words to describe how I felt, but the past and the future, I knew when I drew my past and I drew my future that I would not get to the future that was my dream future without making some significant changes. And so that week I was sort of very blessed and very lucky to be supported. We were in this environment. And I think location is very important when you're doing transformation work. The environment was this monastic, had been where nuns and actually holy people had come together to gather for years. So there was an energy about the place. I'm pretty sure now that I realized that was part of my opening. And so I kind of had a breakdown. I cried my eyes out and said, oh my God, what? I talked to my sister. I told her some things that was happening in my marriage that I had never shared with anybody. And I started to let it go. And I decided on the plane on the way home, I read a book and I decided that I was going to go into coaching work. So I was doing a lot of mentoring in Deutsche Bank. That's how I kind of was fulfilled. I was mentoring a lot of women. I was mentoring, and as I said, I had established a coaching program with Human Resources. Actually, that came later. So I knew that something else was drawing me, and when I got back, I signed up to do coaching training at Teachers College in Columbia University, because I wanted to be able to do what I was doing with some knowledge, and so to make sure that I was doing it in the right way. And that week planted the seed for me to realize that I wasn't stuck. I didn't have to stay in this job. Yeah. I didn't have to stay. I didn't have to do what I was doing, which was great, but no longer was serving my mission. Right. And so that seed took root, and 4 years later, probably 2016, I had completed all these trainings, and I had, there was so many synchronistic and serendipitous moments along the way. Again, some of them were, in the, really, really difficult, really breaking through, because I also started to let the armor of my heart down, and I started to really have much more authentic and honest relationships. I did a lot of transformation work. I was with this program that's now in the city called Altru, New York City, and it was a process, and I started to be supported in a way that I was never allowed myself to be supported. And it was that journey It was that journey to feel my emotions, to let go all the stuff that had been shoved down, that I was taught that was bad to feel, right?
Yes.
So started to feel everything, which was wonderful and awful at the same time, and really kind of just put my big girl's pants on and said, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to move to my next stage?
And that is really important. That put on your big girl pants and ask yourself, how am I going to do this?
Yes.
Don't hide from it.
Exactly.
I think a lot of what we're seeing now is people just going, nope. No. I'm going to get high. I'm going to drink. That's how all the getting high and drinking starts.
Right.
You're not getting high and drinking or covering up your pain because there's nothing there. It's not just like people describe it, oh, I'm just having fun. No. If you want to disconnect from life that much and that consistently, it is because there is something. That's your clue.
Yes, that's your clue.
Yeah, that's your clue. That's where you go, I need to be going inside. Exactly. I need to be looking differently at myself and at the world.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And the two key things that helped me do that were a great therapist.
Yeah.
and this community that all of a sudden kind of grew around me, who were also doing the same work that I was doing, and they were committed to transformation.
Community.
Yeah, and they were committed to higher values of peace, of love, of creating an abundant life for yourself, for your family, for your community, for the world. So there was a mission, and I felt for the first time that I belonged somewhere, and that I felt listened to, and I felt that anything was possible. Almost, it felt like anything was possible.
Right.
And that drove me, and that was able to, that from there I was able to release and let go. Through that program, I then found Kundalini Yoga, which I then became teacher trained, and I found another community of women that I was now part of. I had spent a lot of time with men, and now it was my time to really heal the feminine side of me. And that journey just took its own life in some ways. And I think one of the key things as part of that program was that I wrote down exactly what I envisaged for myself, for my children, for my health, for my family, for my vocation. I still have it, and I still go back to it. It's a working, living document that literally outlines, in the section with the family, that Keith and I would be better parents post-divorce, that we would be that we would all have each other's back. My vision for the family was clear. So when I was tested by that, or when things came up that made it hard for me to kind of align with him, I say, well, what are you hoping to create? And to have that sort of North Star written down as my manifesto almost, that is what kept me on the path.
And exactly, I cannot even stress how important this is.
Yeah.
And this is what we are not teaching young people. This is why we're here, young people. But a lot of what you're not being told is that you need this. You need to write down, this is how I envision my life. Not what you envision for the world. I mean, you can put that down.
Yes.
You can put that, I envision world peace.
Yes.
I do that every day. I envision world peace. I visualize world peace. I do not deal with the past at all at this point. I visualize that the world looks the way I want it to look.
Exactly.
Where it's going to be peaceful, everybody has enough food, I do not dwell on what went on in the past or even the bad stuff that's going on now.
Agreed.
I'm not, because you have to spend some time every day visualizing the world and yourself as you wish to be, as if it has already happened.
Yes.
This is so important. You need to, writing it down is, I can't tell, how many healers will give you this exact same advice? And we're giving it to you for free. You don't have to buy our books. We're telling you for free.
Yeah. And you're 100% right. Feeling the feeling of what it is that you want to see, how you want to see yourself, how you want to see your family. And it doesn't mean that you are not going to go through removing the obstacles to get to there, because the minute you set that intention, life is going to come in a beautiful way. It's just the law of attraction. It doesn't judge. It just gives you what you need in order to be able to. And for some, it's depending on your spiritual journey. Everybody's is unique. Nobody's is the same. You are going to be guided and led to the exact right circumstances. They're not always pretty, right? Life is messy. But the right things, if you can be open and pay attention to the fact that they're showing up for your growth. We talk about PTSD, but there's also PTS growth, right? There's growth in...
Oh, I love that.
Growth in the aftermath of trauma. And that is really why we go through the things that we go through. It's part of the human experience. And if you're here as a human on the planet right now, the chances you're here are 1 in trillions, right? It's a privilege to have this precious life.
The chances that we exist at all are like 1 in trillions.
Exactly. And so if you've chosen to come here to make it your mission to learn the tools, to learn from people around you who are living the lives that you want to live, get curious, ask questions. You're never, ever, ever alone. There's so much guidance from your inner self, from your connection to source, and from the people around you. It's always going to be there.
Yep.
And then the times you don't feel it, know that it is there too. Like, I'm not saying that we don't suffer, but we do have a choice to wake up in the morning. Like, I'll be honest with you, most mornings I wake up, I have to really get myself there. I do my smiling for a minute, looking up at my third eye to get my serotonin going. I do, I have, and if the rituals have changed throughout the year.
Which is very important. Ritual, extremely important.
Extremely important.
A morning practice, extremely important.
Yes. Evening practice before you go into dream space. Both of those things. So you start to create a life that is based off of you checking in. How am I feeling? How am I doing? What do I need? What am I creating? What am I co-creating? You start to believe, and this was nothing that was taught to me. I had to unlearn so much in order to be able to free up the space to actually step into this.
Exactly.
That was the process of 20-something years, and will continue. It will continue. I'm still learning. And so, but it is, know that if you do commit to what, and not what somebody else tells you, but what you feel is right for you.
Exactly. You have to really acknowledge that soul voice.
That's
your
right.
soul will always tell you what's right
Always.
for you. If you're hearing your soul tell you, don't do this, and yet you go and do it, you're in trouble. Something not great will happen.
Yes.
Invariably.
Yes.
It will never not happen.
Exactly.
So it's and it's practice. It really is.
It
mean,
is.
you and I, we
work at it.
We work at it. We work at it even now. It's a lot easier now. And I will, tell you that when you are not worrying about so much how you look and if you're going to
Yes.
attract someone else and all these things going on outside you, it does become a lot easier
Totally.
to take that inner journey. But the younger you start taking it,
Yes.
and I do think that for young people, because of all the anxiety and depression that we're seeing, it becomes more and more important to guide them down that path and to let them know that whatever their soul voice is the voice of their life and their destiny.
That's right. That's right. Despite what the external wants them to do, to always be guided by your internal voice.
Right.
And when you learn that, as a young person, the impact you can have on the world is your legacy,
Huge.
all of the things. And I think that, we are in an age, we are in a time and set of circumstances, energetically, cosmically, whatever we want to call it, where the veil is thinner, where the access to that knowledge is even more, or to that voice is even more, is stronger than it's ever been. I think maybe I'm wrong about that, but I feel like we know that the planet is expanding. We know the Schumann resonance. There's higher frequencies coming
Right.
through. And so in some ways, the path has been paved a little bit by those who've come before us, right, to reach this moment. And everybody, including your ancestors, including the future generations, are rooting for you to connect to your soul voice.
And that's where, when the Haudenosaunee say, we do not make a decision until we consider how it will affect the next 7 generations based on the 7 before. Right. So this generational blaming that's going on right now, this is pointless.
Yes.
Each generation started us on a path to become our highest and our best selves.
That's right.
Each generation of humans that came before us, starting 200,000 years ago, built and built and built on each other to get us to where we are now. So to blame the generation before you or for all the stuff that you weaken yourself.
Yes.
You weaken. You tell the world, you tell the universe, oh, I have no power.
Exactly.
Everything that's wrong with me is somebody else's fault. I have no power to change this. This is why we're hearing so many voices of sages now coming out and saying, you have got to let go of the past.
Exactly.
And, when you look at these things where people are going, no, I can't let go of the past. There has to be certain circumstances. There can't be this until there's that. No. Mm-mm. You have to focus on, this is what I want the world to look like. How do I help it get there?
Yeah.
Not how do I blame you, not how do I make you feel guilty, not how do I tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But how do I change myself so that I get the world there? And that's what you did.
Yes.
That's what I did, what Bob did, what many people that we've talked to have done.
Yeah. Yes. Because it's the recognition that the interconnection of us all depends on each one of us raising our vibration to that next level. And it's out of the blame and the shame and because as long as I'm doing that, then I am perpetuating that on the planet. And if
Exactly.
that is in contradiction to what my vision for the planet is, which is harmonious, peaceful, joyful, where everybody is honored for the gifts that they have, right? And
Yes.
that they bring. And so also competition and comparison, all those things that are the ego, right? And they're
Yes.
and they're not bad things. I don't want to say that they're bad things. They are aspects of our humanness that we get to befriend and get to bring closer, and not to have them feel like, because the competition, and they all come from that that place of they're almost superpowers, because they'll show you what you need to work on, right?
Yes.
They'll show you what
Exactly.
you need to work on. And so nobody's perfect, and we don't do it overnight. So it's a question of, okay, can I accept that as a human, I'm going to feel jealous? I'm going to feel, but can I also consciously wake up in the morning and say, today I'm going to uplift every space that I walk into. I am going to bring the best of me. And even when things don't seem to go my way, my power is my response to what happens.
Right.
Because life will always deliver things to us, right? It's always going to deliver us things. And when we stop judging what is delivered to us, when we stop judging the people who are speaking to us, and we step into this, well, what do I feel? What am I creating? And it's almost like we deliberately don't focus on ourselves and what we think. We put it on the other, what we think about the other person, what the other person likes, all those things. When you start to do that, you're right, you give your power away. Because your power lies in knowing how you, in your body and in your mind, how you feel about something and how you want to respond to it. And it doesn't mean that we all have to have the same response. Everybody has come with their own journey from wherever they've come.
Right.
And so it's this also, you have this grace to listen.
That is so important.
To listen.
I just sat in a circle last weekend with horses. So this was a equine therapy circle.
Amazing.
Happened to be with women and horses, and it's unbelievable to really see how animals like this, horses especially, to me, horses and dogs probably.
Yes,
Cats have
yes.
their own thing. Love cats, but they're like who we all want to be. Because they don't care what you think of them.
No, they're so.
You want to get to that point where you don't care what anybody thinks about you. You're just being you. You know,
Yes.
cats teach that. That's their lesson.
They do.
Dogs and horses, they're the people, the animals that teach you to connect most honestly. The one thing that we learned that was so fascinating about horses that the therapist told us was that they don't like dishonesty. She said if you see a horse turn away from somebody, like they won't go to them, they won't go near them, it's because there's some dishonesty. There's something they're not being true about.
Wow.
And I found that absolutely fascinating. I know I went off a little bit, but when you look at what the Haudenosaunee say, again, just referring to them because,
Yes.
I do a lot of work with the Great Law of Peace. When they're looking at leaders, what's one of the qualities of a leader? Honesty. That's one of their top 4 qualities that you have to look for in a leader. Are we looking for that? No, we are not.
No.
And again, you own your power and say, I'm the one that has to change
Exactly.
the leaders that I choose.
Yeah, and first you have to find your own truth.
Yes.
Because the dishonesty is just your disconnection, misalignment to your own truth.
Right.
It's being dishonest with yourself.
Yes.
And the only place to find the honesty is within you.
Exactly.
And then again, we create that in the world that we create.
Right. So I was just going to ask really quickly.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular tip you would give to anybody out there who's dealing with the anxiety and the
Sure.
stress of our times and all of this that you found particularly useful?
I would say the top thing is your breath. Your breath is the language of your soul. Your breath will teach you everything you need to know. So pay attention to your breath. Is your inhale constricted? Is it hard to hold your breath? Are you able to exhale? In the exploration of your own breath and getting to know it and using it as a tool to come back to your center, to me, it's the most powerful tool.
Yes.
It's the most powerful tool. And of course, there's a lot more to say about it, but I would encourage everybody to take 3 breaths first thing in the morning. Inhale, bring themselves and recognize that you're here. You're here on earth. You're here in this body. Secondly, invite your higher self. Plug yourself into your higher self. And thirdly, come back into the, bring your higher self and your intention with you into your day. So that third one is about making the intention. Today I will be loving no matter what. Today I will let go fear no matter what. Like that third one is really what you're setting yourself up for. But the first 2 are to bring you here and then to connect to your heart, really, and then to intend. I think if everybody in the world did 3 breaths first thing in the morning, to set their day up, things would start to shift.
Yes. And I think they will. I think they are, actually.
They already
and as
are.
long as that intention is not completely selfish, yes, there are things you intend for yourself, but the intention to be at peace or the intention to be more loving is also great for everybody else.
Yes, and that's why you're connecting into your soul voice, because your soul voice is going to inform you of an intention that is in your highest good, right? So that second breath is like I'm connecting to the soul, the voice of my soul, I'm plugging in to what my higher power is going to lead me to, and it will always bring you to a beautiful intention, and you can trust that, and just keep on doing that every day. You build up that as a muscle, and then you start to really notice how you're impacted by the environments that you go in and how you're impacted by the people that you're with. And then you start to discern and make better choices. So a lot of this is about being able to discern what are your preferences, because you're getting to know yourself. You're getting to know yourself. And through the breath, I think you get to know the highest version of yourself.
Yes. Yes. And I the Heart Math Institute,
I know.
they talk about this all the time.
Good. Yeah.
It's always about that. It's almost identical. I like your 3 steps, but it's the same idea.
Yeah.
You do these 3 steps and you get to the point where your heart and your mind are balanced.
Exactly.
In coherence.
Yes.
Well, thanks again, Miss Paula.
Thank you, Maddie.
And I am going to go on. I'm going to read another one of these divinely downloaded poems that have come to me. And I definitely can tell you that this all has to do with my intention to heal. I think I've mentioned this before. I started doing mandala meditation as a way of being able to rid myself of my own anxiety. And it was through doing the drawing that I got these messages. And now I get them. I can ask questions. I can, people can ask questions to me, and I'll see if I get a poem. But I'm going to do one for you all today. Compassion's gate is freedom's course. Compassion brings you no remorse. These little minds, these sullied hearts, have come to tear the world apart. But tearing is not their domain. They fear the night and so lay claim to seekers who have never sought, to teachers who have never taught. They pick the weakest souls by far and try to tell them who they are, so they can rule and they can run a world where no one has much fun. For joyfulness they find a threat, and artificial joy is met. With greetings from their empty hearts, they seek the joy but have no part, for they create a world of blight inside the realm of love's own light. So listen not to what they say, and bring about the brighter day, and never let the darkest mind prevent you from a life most kind, and thoughtful of another's plight. You'll find will lead you from the night of dimmer wishes into gold, of brightest sun, so now be bold, enough to tell the truth you see, enough to be what you can be. The heart of darkness cannot claim a soul whose light at once remains within the universe of love, beyond the sky and from above. So, Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for being with us. And I wish you all a wonderful week, a beautiful week, and happy times and fun. Have fun. Go somewhere. Have fun. We all need to have fun. And I'll see you next time. Love you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for Home Improvement for the Soul. If you'd like more information, please go to womensoneness.com or maddiecheers.com. That's womensoneness.com or maddiecheers.com. See you on the next episode.